It is Friday, August 25th. Welcome, everybody. The Aravosis Report. John Aravosis here with the latest news from Ukraine via Chicago, normally Washington, D.C., but visiting mom for a few more weeks. Welcome all. Why don't you introduce yourselves, say where you're from. I'm going to get TikTok rolling here on my iPad while we wait. Go live. That will work. Anyway, a lot of news today. Good news today. I don't think I've got any real bad news today. I've got to think about it, but I don't think so. It's a lot of good Ukraine. Oh, my light's not on. Although this light's pretty good. I don't know. Maybe the light from, hold 1 second here. I'm going to look. The light from outside's pretty good. I like to do a touch of filler if necessary. Because you can get, there. You may not notice, but it fills in a little. These are the things you have to worry about when you do a video. All the different lights and all that kind of stuff. Basically, you don't want it to seem like it's lit, but it is lit. So that's all right. Anyway, welcome, folks. A lot of good news today, I think. So today will be a pretty positive show. I'm looking here. I don't think there's anything really, unless you're Heineken. No. I have no bad news today. I have all good news today. Thank you, Chief, for the gift on TikTok, getting it rolling. So as always, we'll wait 2 minutes or so for folks to get the notification that we are live. And then for us to start officially. Thank you, Gino. Boy. Hey, George in Glasgow. A place I need to visit. I've only been to Edinburgh, which I liked a lot. But as I told the old couple we met there that were very sweet, they were like, how do you like it? I said, I love it. I just wish your accents were stronger. They said, what do you mean? I said, you sound too English to me. I said, we Americans, we like a real, Doggers from Scotland too. I said, we like a real Scottish accent. ALWD. Edinburgh just wasn't strong enough. I've been to London. The last time I was in London was 7/7 of all things. I was there that day. Very strange day to be there. Thank you, DMR and Allie. Another half minute, guys, and we're going to get rolling. Would you ever visit Russia? Not right now. I've been to Russia. I've been to the Soviet Union and I've been to Russia. But I would never go right now because they're kidnapping Americans. That would just be stupid. It would just be stupid to go. Thank you, Big Hawk, there for the gift. All right, guys, I'm going to get rolling. Shirley, you're from Edinburgh and Scottish sounding. Good for you. Well, they were Scottish sounding, but it was subtle. Like as an American, a friend of mine actually went and studied his junior year in college. He studied in, I think it was Glasgow or the other place that's up there. I forget which, but he said he didn't understand the accent when he first went there. As an American, could not understand the accent. I visited the Soviet Union in 1984, February of 84. It was just as everybody was dying. It was between, I'm trying to remember now, this was after the second death, but not the third. So it was like Andropov, I think, may have died, or Chernenko. I think Andropov died and Chernenko hadn't been appointed, if I'm getting my Soviet leaders in the correct order there. It was a crazy time to be in the Soviet Union. And then I was in Russia in 1993. Thank you for the gift there, by the way. All right, guys, I'm going to start. Welcome all. We'd like to take a few minutes just to kind of let folks join us. Thank you, Vicky. Since it is Friday. Happy Friday, all, to those who celebrate. I am John Aravosis. My allergies are kicking in now. Thank you, Elizabeth. I hate when my allergies kick in. Thanks, Suzanne. And all of a sudden, you've got a cough nonstop. Lovely. 1 second here. There we go. Anyway, welcome, folks. This is my nightly show I do Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Where we talk about the latest news from Ukraine, the way that, hey, Razan in Iraq, good to see you again. Thank you, Katie, for the gift on TikTok. The way the show works, I will go through the news that I think is relevant for the first half hour, maybe 40 minutes or so, we'll see. And then the second half of the show, take your guys' questions. We'll talk about anything you want that deals with Iraq and Iraq. I'm thinking of Razan saying he's from Iraq. We will not be talking about Iraq. We will talk about anything dealing with Ukraine and the war. Also, if you want, I am very open to receiving your gifts because I do this for free and I do it full time. This is my job. So I would appreciate, and I don't look that old. Thank you, Stutzy. I'll even take that in lieu of a gift. That's the best gift you could give. Thank you. Thank you, Ellie. I'm Greek, so fortunately we age well, apparently. Anyway, thank you, Ellie. Thank you, Marcy. So yeah, so the way it works, I will go through the news, and if you guys want to give gifts on TikTok, I will always try to do a shout out when I see the bigger gifts. The little gifts that just there's too many of them. But the big gifts like that, thank you, Adam. I will always do a shout out when I see it. And on YouTube, you guys can do super chats and super stickers to help me out. I appreciate that as well. And as you all know, super chat questions on YouTube. Thank you, Flower Lady. I will always answer, and I will always answer those as the next topic. So let's dive right in, guys. Woo! So today is day 547 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation in Ukraine. Yesterday, I forgot to mention, was the 1.5-year anniversary of the start of the war. August 24th is when the war started. Thank you, Elizabeth. Remember tomorrow, by the way, quick thank you, TikTok Novice. Remember tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern time, I'm going to have my coffee talk, or my coffee talk, as we call it on TikTok, where we get together only for the paid subscribers as a thank you to the paid monthly subscribers. That will be on TikTok at 11 a.m. Eastern time US for anybody who is a TikTok subscriber. If you're not sure how, I think there's something on the screen that tells you how to subscribe. Maybe a mod or somebody can tell them, because on my end, it's not the same thing. Thank you, Carol. And for the rest of you, if you subscribe on YouTube, Discord, I'm forgetting some of them, Twitch, I'm forgetting pretty much. There's something else I'm forgetting. I know. Ko-fi, that's the other one. You guys can join us on Discord at the same time. I'll be beaming to both with my multi-cameras, and usually Vlad joins us from Ukraine. Not always, but usually joins us. Thank you, Martin. So don't forget, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time US, here on TikTok and there on Discord. Thank you, Nicola. So let's get rolling with the news, guys. Thank you for the Happy Friday gift. So there is evidence today that the counteroffensive is picking up pace in Ukraine. Thank you, Gone Big Tard. I'm going to talk at length about it. Then we're also going to obviously talk about some Wagner updates as well, because of that whole situation with Prigozhin. But there's evidence of the Ukrainian counteroffensive picking up steam. There's also evidence of them doing well. Now, do not expect, thank you, Gino, do not expect some massive land grab. It would be great if they have it. But the point is, the Ukrainians appear to be gearing up. Like the intensity is picking up of what they're doing. Number of different things. Michael Clark of Sky News, I will thank you, JRD, says that the operation is getting into high gear, the counteroffensive operation, and that the moment may come in the next 2 or 3 weeks, that he thinks in the next 2 or 3 weeks, there may be a make or break moment in terms of basically what Ukraine has to do. Now, he's a pretty good, smart guy. This guy's a military analyst on Sky News. I think he's pretty conservative, but I say conservative in a good way, meaning he's not kind of crazy out there. So I was intrigued. Thank you, Stephen Perry. Stephen Perry gets his map. Although the map was going to come up in a second. Stephen did a super sticker or super chat for the map. I do what the super chat wants within reason. But he's not somebody who's really kind of out there with his expectations. So I thought it was interesting that he said he feels the next 2 or 3 weeks could be make or break for Ukraine. General Milley, U.S.'s top general, himself confirmed today that Ukrainian troops have managed to attack through Russia's first main defensive belt in some areas along the front. Now, this is something that we were hearing about in the last day or so anyway, that Ukraine appeared in some areas to break through the Russian lines. There are 3 main lines of defense, at least in this area. The first is landmines, right? Landmines everywhere. The second is trenches. Actually, I'm forgetting the second and the third. I believe next up, the second is trenches to stop tanks, and I was going to say dinosaur teeth. What do they call them? I'm forgetting what they're called now. The big diamond, cement diamonds sticking up. They're not dinosaurs. What do we call them? But the teeth that basically, dragon teeth, dinosaur. I knew dinosaur was in my head for some reason. Dragon's teeth. I like dinosaur teeth, to be honest, as a dinosaur guy. Well, hedgehogs is the other word. The hedgehogs are the things that look like jacks. So the hedgehogs are the things with the third. This is 2D. Imagine 3D. So 3 of these. That's a hedgehog. The dragon's teeth are literally like cement diamonds, if you cut off the top of a diamond and put it on the ground, that's what the dragon's teeth are like. So that's what sort of is coming for the Ukrainians. Now, anecdotal reports in terms of all the different areas where things have picked up. Listen to this. Anecdotal reports of a massive Ukrainian drone attack on Russian forces overnight in southern Crimea. As many as 70 drones reportedly that Ukraine used at once. Remember that Ukraine, some of the drones per se are going to get through. A lot of them are going to be stopped, but some are going to get through. The attack was all the way down here, basically east of Simferopol. So more or less where my nail is. Oops, that was cute, Fred. It threw it on the map. Thank you for that. That was very funny. But down here in southern Crimea, Ukrainians claim that they did hit Russian troops. They hit a Russian base. They injured 300 Russian troops who were sent to the hospital, according to the Ukrainians. This is the second attack in, I think, as many days. The Ukrainians, in at least a day or two ago, also attacked here. They had an amphibious force that landed from the sea and attacked here, caused a lot of damage, killed some Russian troops. Thank you, Kanalsi, and destroyed a lot of Russian equipment here, and then got away without anybody getting injured. So Ukraine has picked up the intensity of the attacks on Crimea in the sense of having certainly dozens and dozens of drones attack at the same time. That's new. But also the type of attack, this amphibious attack was the first that Ukraine had tried that. Thank you, Lisha, for the hedgehog. That was the first time Ukraine had tried that. Russian military and bloggers have expressed concerns. Now, what's interesting about this is one of the things the Ukrainians are really good at, and frankly, some of it might be our intelligence or German intelligence, British intelligence, who knows, but they get copies of conversations that Russian military bloggers are having, and also, more important, well, Russian military bloggers do it publicly, that Russian soldiers have privately. They get on the phone and either they talk to each other or they talk to the family back home, and they let it be known how things are going, thinking it's a private conversation, and it's not. Listen to this. Russian military and bloggers have expressed concern about a Ukrainian breakthrough in Zaporizhia province and say this is a critical moment. Now, Zaporizhia is a city, but it's also a province. It's this province basically down here, okay? This is the big battle of the counteroffensive that everybody is expecting and what it's really turning out to be. Thank you, Lee Shaw. Now, just to remember, there's at least 4 or 5 main areas of battle. Here in Kherson, there's some. Zaporizhia is the big one. Another big one here, kind of south of the city of Donetsk, also in the province of Donetsk. Then you've got Bakhmut up here. And then you've got the Russians trying to take Kupiansk up here. So that's what it was, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas. But the really big one for the counteroffensive is this one in Zaporizhia. Thank you, Salty. That's the one that the Russians are worried, at least in terms of the intercepted communications, at least in terms of what their military bloggers are saying. They think it's a critical moment. That's good news. Now, why? I've got a bunch of different sources I'm pulling together here. CNN interviewed a Ukrainian officer who said the area between the villages of Robotine, which I've been pronouncing correctly, more or less, Robotine, I'll do it that way, Robotine, and Verbove, who knows where the stress is the hottest area right now where the fighting is taking place. That would be, so basically, I'm going to try this with a pen or a pencil. Hold on. I had a pencil here. I don't have to, though. I'll use my nail. Nail works. Nail's good enough. So the fighting's been around here for a while now, okay? Now it's moving down a little bit. It's moved down a little bit here. You've got Robotine, which is the town we've been talking about for several days now that the Ukrainians have mostly taken. The town of Verbove, which is right to the east of Robotine, not by much, so just a little bit to the east. That a lot of fighting is going on right now. You also, what did they say? This is from a Ukrainian officer. We have almost reached their main defense lines. We have constant tactical advances, and we are gradually reclaiming our territory. But Russian troops have pulled up artillery, and their aviation is constantly at work. 24 hours a day. There are a dozen air raids a day, he continued. He says there remain a lot of mines. Okay. So we know the Ukrainians have progressed, again, a little bit south, a little bit east of where they were over here. And they're basically approaching now the town of Tokmak. Once they get Tokmak, they'll be halfway to Melitopol. The goal, remember, is to cut the occupation in half. Okay. Clark, oh, let me see a little bit more here. Oh, yeah, there was a little bit more here. The Ukrainian General Staff said today that there has been further success in 2 areas towards the village of Novoprokopivka, or Novoprokopivka, depending which way the accent goes, which is just south of Robotine. So they've had some success a little bit south. Why does that matter? Because it means they're going further south. It means they're going further south. What else we got here? Oh, here it is up here. Sorry. So they got a little, they're moving further south and further southeast in the direction of another small settlement, Ocheretuvate, wherever the accent is there. But bottom line is the Ukrainians are moving a little bit south and a little bit east, so they're getting more land. That's good because we want them to keep moving south so they can eventually cut the Russians in half there. Well, cut the Russian occupation in half, I should say. Maybe not cut the Russians in half. I guess that's up to you. What else we got here? Russian troops say, oh, this was interesting too. So this is what I was telling you about the intercepts they do, the electronic intercepts where they're able to listen to the Russian troops. This was very interesting. So they've, thank you, Philip, for the super sticker. Nice of you. So Russian troops are saying that they are getting slaughtered northwest and south of Bakhmut. Now, Bakhmut, you'll recall, is the city around here that the Ukrainians were defending for like 11 months. And finally, the Wagner Group guys took it, several months ago now. And the Ukrainians are trying to take it back. Russians are complaining that they're getting slaughtered northwest and south of there by Ukrainian tanks. Thank you, Adventures. Now, what's interesting about this is what the Russian troops are saying is that the Ukrainians have got a bazillion tanks and the Russians are out of ammunition. And all the Russians have left, they don't have any artillery left. They've got no artillery ammunition left. And they are using machine guns against Ukrainian tanks, and it's not doing anything. And they're getting slaughtered. Like hundreds of them have been slaughtered, according to this news. Thank you, Elizabeth. What some of the analysts are saying is this is because of Ukraine's deliberate strategy in the last few months. If you've been watching my show for a while or just following the news about Ukraine, you know that Ukraine has been just steadily blowing up Russian ammunition reserves, their depots, their storage, and they have blown up so much of it that the Russians, at least in certain areas like this around Bakhmut, are now in trouble, which is amazing. Michael Clark on Sky News, their military expert, also says there are reports today that a Ukrainian incursion across the Dnipro River in southern Kherson region. So he's talking about the Dnipro River. So Kherson is over here. Dnipro River is here. This is the river where the Ukrainians control north, the Russians control south. It's Ukrainian territory, of course, but the Russians are occupying. It's the area where the flood was, right, when the Russians blew up the dam. It is also the area where the Ukrainians have had some pockets of troops right south of the river, okay? But not a lot of action, but some. Clark says there are reports today that a Ukrainian incursion across the Dnipro River, so coming across from the north, has led to Russian occupiers being surrounded. There is evidence some Russian forces have started to fracture and collapse amid the counteroffensive, Clark adds, but says we'll need to see a lot more evidence to know Ukraine is really on the front door. Thank you, Lee. So you've got it looks like possibly another crossing of Ukrainians across the river. They're doing well. What's interesting to me is that there is at least initial evidence of Russian troops starting to collapse. Now, that's good because thank you, Kyle. It's something we've been wanting for a while, right? We've been wanting a big while to see if the Russian troops finally get so exhausted and beaten up that they collapse the way they did in the fall. Remember in the fall when the Ukrainians just went whoosh across the map? That's because the Russian troops were collapsing. These guys were running for their lives. As he says, it's too early to count on that being the case now, but it's still, as I said, this is all really good news today. I'm going to take a while. Oh, thank you, Tom. I was wondering what that was. I'm like seeing the light shining in my eye. That was hilarious. Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, that's good. I've got some other news. Actually, today's news is going pretty quickly. I do have other news. Let me do a quick pitch, as always, just for donations and things. Please do keep the donations coming. Also, keep ticking. Keep clicking the screen on TikTok. There we go. And on YouTube, hit the like button. I do appreciate your guys' donations because I am doing this for free and I'm doing full time. Thank you, Kanowski. So your donations quite literally help me keep doing this. So thank you. Another way you can donate actually is very simply, you guys can go to aravosis.com. You guys can go to aravosis.com, but my last name, but you could also just click the link that is in my profile on TikTok, and it'll bring up the same page that aravosis.com does, which is my link of links. At the top of the page, you'll find my Ko-fi link. It's a way of becoming a monthly member, of just supporting my work. You'll find my PayPal, my Venmo, my Cash App. You'll also find my LinkedIn and stuff if you want to know more about who I am. But you'll find a number of different ways you guys can contribute to support my work. And of course, I always appreciate the donations of the monthly memberships. And remember, the monthly members will get access, among other things, to our show that we do almost every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, including tomorrow's Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, on TikTok and on Discord for everybody. So the TikTok monthly subscribers, the YouTubes, the Discord, the Ko-fi, Twitch, all of you guys will be able to join us. All right. So please do join us. All right, guys, let me keep rolling, but please do donate if you can. I appreciate it. The Dutch defense minister says the transfer of F-16s to Ukraine could take up to 8 months. Now, there wasn't a lot of discussion, but basically he said because of the prerequisites, which I think makes sense. Basically what that means is the U.S. does not want him turning over F-16s to the Ukrainians until all the training is done, which, isn't such a bad idea. I do need money, user 523, because I'm not a communist. I actually have to pay my bills, and this is my full-time job. So because people like my show, they've been nice enough to donate because they think it's important to keep us all educated on what's going on in Ukraine. So do you need money? I'm guessing you don't work for free. Thank you, Magical. So not a big surprise that the F-16 is going to be delayed, but it's interesting. It's just a little bit of an additional point there, saying that basically they're not going to turn them over until the Ukrainians get through with their training. Greece, this is provisional. It's not been determined yet, but it's interesting. Greece will not sign new contracts with Moscow on maintaining Russian-made air defense systems in the Greek military arsenal, and may instead send them to Ukraine via third parties. So basically, Greece has some Russian-made weapons, air defense systems that the Russians help keep up to date. And Greece says it looks like Greece is no longer going to renew the contract for that. And they're probably going to give the weapons to Ukraine instead, which is great. So excellent. Finland announced military aid for Ukraine worth $101 million, actually. Lukashenko, let's talk a little bit about the Wagner Group. Thank you, Annie Cat. Appreciate that. We'll talk a little bit about the Wagner Group. So as you guys know, Yevgeny Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner mercenary group, may have been killed this week. Thank you, Cami. And if he was killed, may have been killed by Putin. I mean, we don't quite know. Everybody thinks he was probably killed. Everybody thinks he was probably killed by Putin, but we don't quite know. Because the problem is the Russians have that. Basically, the plane was blown out of the sky. Could have been a missile. Looks more like it was a bomb. But the Russians are the ones investigating, and the Russians lie. So there's really no way to know what brought the plane down or who was on the plane, because the Russians are doing, their forensics. But again, they lie. Nonetheless, sort of some of the fallout from that, Lukashenko, who's the dictator. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate that. Lukashenko, who's the dictator of Belarus, where a lot of the Wagner guys had moved, because remember, initially, they have the revolution. They try to overthrow Putin. Putin then negotiates with Prigozhin. As part of the negotiation, Prigozhin supposedly was going to have to move to Belarus and brings a bunch of his men with, right, which is a Putin ally. Brings a bunch of his men there, maybe 4,000, 5,000 of his men. They set up a camp. Well, then video in the last day or two right after Prigozhin gets blown up, shows the camp being dismantled in Belarus and reports of Wagner fighters getting basically shipped out of there back to Russia. Well, Lukashenko says today that Wagner will remain in Belarus, which makes no sense because the camp's being dismantled. He also made a bunch of claims. It would be ridiculous to think that Vladimir Putin would kill him, and to kill Prigozhin. And it's like, oh, come on. Paul Gray is asking a super chat question: is it possible Prigozhin faked his own death? Yes, it's possible. I would say it's most people don't think it. Okay. Most people, I think, are giving it a 10%, maybe a 20% chance. That looks like hold on a second. 1 second here. Oh, okay, good. For a second there, I thought it was like a friend of mine who used to live here and lives in DC area coming to my mom's house. I was like, what are you doing here? I would say that what you are seeing in the media right now is nobody talks about Prigozhin being dead. They talked about him being probably dead. There is an interesting cautiousness in the media about this story. Again, if you read the stories on it, you'll see all the stories are cautious about claiming he's dead. That's because this guy is not stupid. And although he may be stupid if he actually was on that plane and had his name on the manifest. But remember, he had all sorts of disguises. He had all sorts of passports under different names. He should have known Putin was going to try to kill him. Everybody knew Putin was going to try to kill him. Is it possible he's got a double like we all believe Putin does? Yes. Is it possible the double got on the plane instead of him? Yes. Right? I mean, who knows? I still think most likely he was on the plane and most likely he was killed. Is there a 10 or 20% chance he wasn't killed? Yeah. It's still a minority chance, but yeah, Hayes is saying he faked it in 2019. I mean, that's the thing. It's a small chance, but there's a chance. And when I say there's a chance, what I mean is a more than insignificant chance. I don't think it's a really big chance, but I don't think it's an infinitesimal chance. Right? Which is why I think the media as well, everyone's assuming he's dead, but refusing to say he's dead. So very weird. Putin expressed outrage today that Biden had said that Putin did it. That it was clear Putin did it. He outraged. Thank you, user 2119. Appreciate that. Some more news about this. The Pentagon confirmed today that Wagner is no longer a factor on the battlefield in Ukraine. This we knew, though, because the Russians had already removed the Wagner group from Ukraine. So they're no longer a factor in Ukraine because of Prigozhin's death. They're because Putin had already removed them. Now, that's a big deal because the Wagner group were some of the only remaining soldiers the Russians had that were any good. Also, even when Russia had its other troops, the Wagner fighters were still some of Russia's best troops. They're war criminals, to be sure, but they were some of their best troops. So for Putin to remove them from Ukraine is dumb, but he's afraid. After the coup, he decided to remove them, right? Because what do? I mean, you've got a fighting force that tried to overthrow you. Can you get in there and rehabilitate them, or do you just destroy them? I think Putin's kind of trying to do both right now. British Ministry of Defense says Wagner without Prigozhin will be weaker. Let me read you a little bit about what they said. The demise of Prigozhin would almost certainly have a deeply destabilizing effect on the Wagner group. His personal attributes of hyperactivity, exceptional audacity, a drive for results, and extreme brutality permeated Wagner and are unlikely to be matched by any successor. Wagner's leadership vacuum would be compounded by the reports that founder and field commander Dmitry Utkin and logistics chief Valery Chekalov also died. So thank you, Tired Rabbit and Deep Blue. British Ministry of Defense is saying that these guys' deaths are going to weaken Wagner and also sort of destabilize it in terms of they've lost the leadership. Who's going to take over? Now, there is a rumor that thank you, Pedro. Michael Clark over at Sky News was saying that there's a rumor that the head of the head of covert operations at Russian military intelligence may be in line to take over the Wagner group, which would pull it more closely to Putin because, of course, now you have the Russian Ministry of Defense, in essence, running the Wagner group, which is what Putin really wanted all along. Thank you, Charles, for the TikTok gift. The British Defense Secretary said that resorting to eliminating dissenting voices on the scale that Putin is now doing by killing Prigozhin shows the trust in the Kremlin inner circles has disappeared. Thank you, Vicky. Let me got a 6 Evo is saying, is it super chat question? Is it significant that the West is also looking into how the plane went down? What are the chances that a coup may still occur? I mean, I'm trying to think of like why we care how the plane went down. Well, okay. If you're trying to understand Putin and trying to understand what's making him tick and where he is, you kind of want to know, okay, if Putin didn't blow up Prigozhin and say the Ukrainians did it, that's interesting because it means Putin's still a wimp. So it does matter if we know. So that right there is one reason why Western intelligence wants to know. If Putin didn't kill him, then Putin was willing to let Prigozhin live, and basically he wimped out as we all thought he did, right? So that's interesting. If Putin did kill him, thank you for the gift there, Sis Overa. If Putin did kill him, then it suggests that, it suggests that a lot of things, we talked about this before, but it suggests a lot of things that Putin's worried, that Putin feels the need to clamp down, and that we should expect an ongoing sort of repression in Russia even more, but with suspicion among his ranks, because now he's trying to sort of kill everybody and purge everybody who he thinks is bad. That also gives us more of an insight as to what he's thinking and where he may go next and what his decision making is for war or diplomacy or whatever, right? So all of that, I think it does matter, but my guess is that's why we're looking into it, is it lets us know about Putin, really. And Putin may try to lie. He may try to lie and blame it on the West, for example, right? What if he tried to blame it on the US or something because he's crazy? Putin's not crazy, but I mean, because he's trying to do that. We need the evidence in order to refute it just in case. So no, I think it's smart. What are the chances that a coup may still occur? It's interesting. There's still a chance. I mean, he's clearly purging people. He got rid of that general, right? That was close to Prigozhin. He got rid of some other staff. There is some belief that Putin waited these 2 months. By some of the experts, they think Putin waited these 2 months after the rebellion to actually kill Prigozhin because he wanted to take the time to basically tap Prigozhin's phones and find out like who he was dealing with, who were all his contacts, who were all the Russian military folks who he was best buddies with, right? So, and when he talked to them, did they say anything like they knew what was going to go on? They knew about the rebellion before, that kind of stuff. So, hang on a sec. Putin is therefore able to go after a lot of those people, which helps lessen the chance of a coup. I'm trying to think where I read this today. They were saying that what could increase the chances of a coup. Oh, I know who it was. Who was this? Hang on. Yes, this was hang on. This was the British Defense Secretary. Listen to this. Mr. Putin is now leading through fear rather than loyalty. And crucially, the Russian oligarchs and elites no longer see him as a capable guarantor of their status. I suspect Putin's day are very much numbered. He's saying that basically the elites think, well, if he kills Prigozhin, he could kill all of us. Now, first of all, they know he could kill all of them, but that they may feel like with this guy, it's only a matter of time before he comes for the rest of us, right? Well, if you're one of the people who was friendly with Prigozhin, you need to worry now that Putin's going to kill you. At the very least, throw you in jail, but he may kill you. So does that give you an incentive if you're one of the billionaires or some of the military folks or some of the intelligence folks to try to plot another coup to get rid of Putin? Because otherwise he's going to kill you. Yeah. If you're the Wagner guys, we talked about this with the Wagner guys. If you're one of the Wagner guys, unless you're the guys in Africa, and maybe the guys in Africa are okay, maybe, right? But if you're one of the Wagner guys that was fighting in Ukraine, all bets are off whether you survive. Putin could just kill them all. I mean, he pulled them out of Ukraine, but he could just kill them. He knows who they are, right? Those guys really need to think about what they do next, because if they don't, basically take up arms against Putin, Putin very well could be taking up arms against them. So, chance of a coup gets interesting with all of those factors, right? But again, it's Russia, it's dictatorship. Will he really get overthrown? I mean, Then again, we didn't think the Prigozhin thing was going to happen. And it did, and it went quite well, so to speak, right? He did very well. Heineken sold its operations in Russia for €1 after it previously said it wanted to leave Russia after the Ukrainian invasion. And CNN, this was a great story to end with. CNN reports that Putin won't travel to India for the Group of 20 summit next month. I think there's no chance. There is no chance that there's any reason he's not going other than the arrest warrant against him. That's why he's not going. This guy, this is great. This is the second time now. This month, just a couple days ago, just actually this week, Putin couldn't go to the BRICS summit, which was the summit in South Africa of large developing countries, China, Russia, India, South Africa, Brazil. Putin couldn't go to the summit because the South Africans were like, look, we're supposed to arrest you. We don't want to arrest you, but you're making it uncomfortable. Please don't come. And now India, here's the thing too. India, my guess is India may have told them don't come, right? Very interesting. Very interesting. But that news just came out earlier in the day. They were saying the Russians said, we don't know. And then the news came out from CNN saying he's not going to attend. I mean, that's just embarrassing for this guy. This guy, I will say this, that's the great thing about these, the International Criminal Court coming after him. It's actually having some impact in terms of his travel, which is amazing. The guy's a hostage in Russia. Enjoy Russia. All right, let me show you guys a couple of our auction items, and then we will do questions. So as you guys know, we have cool auctions on our Discord. It's discord.aravosis.com. Our Discord community is free, but if you are a VIP member, meaning if you're one of the folks who gets the monthly subscriptions on, thank you, Jay Ticker, on Ko-fi, on YouTube, on Discord, on Twitch, if you're one of those monthly subscriptions, you also have access to our VIP auctions. If you go and check them out, you'll see VIP is for the monthly members as a thank you, monthly paid members, and the rest public is for everybody. Three of the things that I've got, these are probably the three most popular right now. I've got a Ukrainian military patch. Very cool. These are real patches that Vlad got from Ukraine. I only have a few of these left, actually, because Vlad, I'll get to your question in a second, Viper. Vlad got into trouble when he exported these, actually, because he was mailing them to me months ago. And Ukraine Customs was like, why are you sending real military patches out of the country? And he's like, no, because they're thinking he was going to do it like spy or something. He's like, no, we're auctioning them off in America to help Ukraine. So half of the money goes back to help Ukraine. Half of the money goes to support my work. Second thing, we've got the Azov style bracelet, which are the bracelets made from the steel from the Azov style steel plant, which is where the 2,000 Ukrainian troops fought off the 14,000 Russian troops for almost 2 months at that steel plant. This was the Azov battalion mostly, but not exclusively. And what the Ukrainians did, they turned around and they took the last batch of steel from the plant and they made it into bracelets. So they made these cool bracelets. You can see they stamped the Ukrainian trident on them out of the steel. Oh, you guys can see there, the trident. And they're really cool, made by the Ukrainian government. They don't make these anymore. So, and then the final thing I will show you, which I think is really pretty, is the traditional Ukrainian, pita, it's not pita vanka. What's it? I've got it written in the description on the Discord. I don't have it in front of me, but it's this traditional Ukrainian style from a little village. I forget if it's near Dnipro where it is, but in any case, but I love this stuff. It's a Christmas ornament, very pretty. Like I said, I love this style. Both sides are the same, but you can see, as I said, I've got some beautiful, actually, the Russians also have a similar style. I've got some beautiful Russian bowls that I got. Petrakivka. Thank you. I was going to say, I knew it was but it's not pisanka. This isn't pisanka though, Irina, right? I mean, I thought pisanka is the eggshells. This was the Petrakivka was what I was told this is, right? Is that not different? Irina is Ukrainian, so I'm not going to contradict you, but right? Isn't pisanka the eggshell? Correct. Okay. See, I learned. I learned. There you go. Yes. So this is the painting style that's really beautiful. And again, traditional Ukrainian artist made this, of course. It's not made by an American. It's a cat. It is a cat. It's a cat. All right, guys. So let's do question and answer. I've got a question from Viper. A super chat question. I wonder if Ukraine will covertly reach out to Wagner soldiers to secretly do their bidding, so to speak. Surely it would be considered. Absolutely, it would be considered. If I were the Ukrainians, I'd do it. We know today there was a public message put out there from the free. There you go. Free. Okay. Carrie already put it up. The Free Russian Legion put out a video encouraging Wagner troops who didn't commit war crimes to join them, fight for Ukraine, and march all the way to Moscow this time. And I think they even mentioned revenge. I saw the written description of it, and they even mentioned, wouldn't you like to get revenge on Moscow? Now, the Free Russian Legion are those Russian troops who were helping Ukraine, that Ukraine was arming, and they were actually fighting going across the border, like in remember in Belgorod in northeastern Ukraine, near Kharkiv. So if you're smart and you're Ukrainian, you absolutely approach these guys. You are careful about it because they did just commit a lot of atrocities in your country. But you know what? I mean, it's like a Tasmanian devil as far as I'm concerned. I mean, in the sense of the cartoon version of it. Thank you, JC. If you can just wind them up and set them loose in Russia and just cause havoc, yes. Because that's what Ukraine's doing anyway with the other guys that cross the border. They just want them to cause havoc, right? So I would say, yeah, Callum's saying the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And, you have to worry a little bit that they don't turn around and bite you in the butt, right? That they don't suddenly turn on, Ukraine again. But I'd be very intrigued at the notion of giving them money and maybe even some weapons. But you'd have to really think hard about that to make sure they don't turn on you. But boy, to give some of the, basically you turn them into a terrorist organization. Basically, you arm them, give them what they need, and say, go have fun getting your revenge for Prigozhin's murder and the other top two guys of your outfit. So yeah, I don't know that we're gonna hear about it, right? But right, because it would be smart of them to keep it quiet. But I think absolutely the Ukrainians are going to reach out to them. I think they would. Why not? Right? Why wouldn't you? What else we got, guys? With Putin being a war criminal, is there a bounty on his head? I don't think so. We were saying somebody should put one. Somebody really should put a bounty on his head. That would be pretty funny. Like there ought to be some private entrepreneur doing it, except then Putin will put a bounty on his head. But that would be pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good idea though. What else, guys? What else? On Putin, yeah. I thought there was a small one. Well, I thought there is a bounty. I'm saying, okay, I thought there was like a small one though, like $50,000 or something. Well, the Americans don't necessarily want to, right? I mean, Biden doesn't want to anger Putin and blah, 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 blah. I was saying that it should have been crowdfunded, that there should have been a way for all of us to do a crowdfund on Putin, putting a bounty on his head. Wouldn't that be wild? Imagine, but I don't know how you would do it, but it would be brilliant to do. Yeah, supposedly Magical Prigozhin had some kind of a fail-safe in place or whatever if he was ever killed, whether it was information he had or whatever it was that he was going to release on Putin. We're going to find out if he has anything. The question is, what could you have on Putin that we don't already know? But thank you, Lord and Beast. What could he have on Putin that we don't know? But, who knows, right? I mean, whether it's anything that could make a difference. There was $1 million bounty for his arrest by a defected millionaire living in the U.S. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. That's cool. And somebody else, Mario, saying the same thing. An oligarch put a 1 million, was it 1 million like dollars or pounds or euros? I mean, same difference. Not rubles, I hope, because rubles isn't very much. Hopefully it's one of the Western currencies. Do you think maybe Belarus shot Prigozhin down because they saw him as a threat? That's interesting. That's interesting, Nicholas. If I were Lukashenko, the dictator in Belarus, I would have been worried about having Prigozhin there. I don't think it was safe to have him there. Actually, one of the African leaders, maybe in Libya, I think it was, expressed concern after the coup attempt that Prigozhin's groups could try something there. If I remember what I was reading, and if you were in Belarus, I would have worried about the same thing, right? Is he going to take over your country next? What a lovely country! It'd be a shame if something happened to it, right? I still don't think Lukashenko would do it without Putin knowing, right? Because he's Putin's puppy. So he wouldn't really do it, you know? I think on his own, it'd be too risky, but that'd be kind of funny. Um, what else we got, guys? Do keep the gifts coming on TikTok and YouTube, please. I appreciate it. And also likes are free on TikTok and YouTube. The up button's free. Is Callum running an arms factory? I hope not. If Putin was to get overthrown, who would be next in charge? Are they any better? We don't know. We don't know. That's the concern. It could be like a government functionary type. It could be a right-wing radical ultra-nationalist who's worse than Putin and basically thinks, they should have dropped nukes on Ukraine. It could be somebody who decides to knife Putin if Putin's overthrown and says, you know what, that guy's an idiot. He screwed up this war. We should have never gotten into this war. It was a mess. It was his fault. Let's, reinitiate trade relations with the West and all of that. So any of those could happen. I don't think anybody in the West has any idea. I was reading something maybe a month back that was listing all the possibilities, and it was a lot of different names, and definitely, like I said, folks from the middle, very few folks that would be more moderate, and certainly lots of folks that could be crazy. So, is there a vice president in Russia? I doubt a real one. I don't know, but doubtful that there's a real one, right? Meaning Putin dies. It's not like, it's not like, the next guy takes over until the next election. I can't imagine. There's a prime minister, but same problem. I can't imagine. No one in Russia talking about what happens if Putin disappears is suggesting that, well, there's a line of succession in Russia and here's who gets it next. No. Yeah. But Lavrov's the foreign minister though. But yeah, I don't think I think it would be the elites get together, the intelligence services. Yeah, but Navalny, you'd have to have a revolution for Navalny to get put in. Is the only problem, right? What else? Oh, yeah, I did see this. Jens is saying, I saw someone floating the idea of a volunteer fighter wing for Ukraine with retired F-16 pilots. I saw that already being discussed. I think a Ukrainian official already put out the message saying, any former F-16 pilots who want to join us, you're welcome. I remember seeing that several days ago. I suspect the U.S. probably wet themselves when they saw that. Biden's people would not like that, but I don't know if you can stop them from you could stop them from doing it. You could stop them because the U.S. would say, right? First of all, Biden has to get them the planes, right? And Biden can say, no, we're not going to get you the planes to have Americans fly them. Biden would not want Americans flying them. But it's a great idea. But in the end, until Ukraine gets the planes, Ukraine gets to decide who flies them. And even then, if Biden says, I don't want you putting Americans in there, because Americans would be blowing Russians out of the sky, it might look bad. I don't necessarily agree with him because if the guy's retired, you literally tell Putin, what am I going to do? The guy's retired. Thank you, B. Smith. TikTok gift. They could volunteer, but the U.S. hasn't turned the planes over, and we're not okay. Remember when I started the show, I was talking about the Netherlands saying that the F-16s would not get to Ukraine for 8 or 9 months because of the prerequisites, meaning the training that has to happen. Thank you, Dr. Chicken. Because of the training that has to happen. So the U.S. is going to say when those planes can be delivered because they're U.S. planes. So, well, I agree with you, Brandon, but we're talking about Biden and his idiot national security advisor and all these other guys being all worry warts about Vladimir Putin. And I think, thank you, Timothy, I think they would be really kind of freaked out at the notion of American pilots blowing up Russian planes. I don't think they should, but I think they would, Again, I think because it's more spectacular. First of all, do we have any Americans driving Ukrainian tanks? Really? Are any Westerners? Because that's a good question. Are any of our former military guys driving Ukrainian tanks? Really? Are they? You're sure? I'm saying because I don't know. Okay. Oh, that's it. I did not know that. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, thank you, Kirch. Okay, that is interesting. Okay, I didn't know they were actually driving the tanks though. Okay. Well, and when we say tanks, do we mean tanks or do we mean tanks? You know what I mean? You mean tanks, or we're talking about all the fighting vehicles that we all call tanks because they've got big noses? You know what I mean? Either way, that's still interesting though. Yeah. Okay, that is interesting. Both. Okay, very interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah, Daniel's saying also definitely other vehicles, likely tanks. Okay, well then you're not wrong. Then I mean, I don't know. Again, we're talking about Biden. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter if there's a difference or if there's no difference. You know what I mean, Tulekivi. It's because it's the joke that everybody thinks everything's a tank that's got a big gun sticking out of it. And frankly, I've made the same mistake. They do all look like tanks. What else we got, guys? More questions, more discussion. What? We went through the news quickly. It was a good news day, actually. I said very good news day. Yes, you've got a big nose, then we'll call you a tank. Do you think Ukraine will take naval drones outside the Black Sea? That's funny. The question is where, though. I mean, you're gonna, you know what I mean? Are you gonna attack, Russian ships in the Mediterranean? I mean, if you could. I don't know that it matters, because also why not go after them here? Unless there was some prized Russian ship elsewhere, you know? But there's probably enough Russian ships to go after. Well, although Russian ships in the Mediterranean might not be as protected as the ones, because they may not be expecting it. That'd be interesting, actually. I don't know if the Ukrainian drones could go that far, though. Thank you, Dawn, because they'd have to control them. Be cool if they could. Thank you, Dawn, for the gift as well. Dave Wilkins says if they get the go-ahead, they could stage the F-16s out of Poland until Ukraine infrastructure is ready. Yeah, but that becomes a whole other can of worms, right? You're daring the Russians to bomb Poland. Now, I think it'd be kind of funny, but it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. Can Poland stand down now? Institute for the Study of War, big defense think tank, never thought that the Wagner guys posed much of a threat to the Poles. Basically, their opinion was that the Poland would crush Wagner like a flea if the Wagner guys ever tried anything. But clearly Wagner is weaker now, and they are coming under the control of the Russian Ministry of Defense. Thank you, K9 and Dawn, both, for the gifts. Since they're coming under tighter control of the Russian Ministry of Defense, that makes them much less likely to freelance. I think, who knows though, I guess the question is whether that makes them less likely to attack Poland. But in any case, I think they're probably less likely to go after Poland now. Would be my guess. Also, these on their own, these guys are thinking of going after Moscow now, probably, right? Yeah, well, I'd love them to go after Kaliningrad. That would be kind of fun. Well, once Russia falls apart, Europe can take back Kaliningrad. Although, who would it go to? Would it go to the Poles? Kaliningrad? Poles or Germans? Lithuania? Who would it, or would it be its own country? You'd have to kick all the Russians out, but just curious. Give it to Lithuanians. Yeah, little bias there. You know what I mean? It's an interesting question. Prussia? Yeah. Germans? No, that's what I mean. Like, it's an interesting question as to who would get it. Right, or split Poland, Lithuania. Well, or it's a little weird for the Germans to have it too, just because of the location. Then again, why not? Or Jens says, or Sweden. I know everyone's like raising their hands for their own country. Or America could have America, and then we'd be European. That'd be kind of cool. You wouldn't want us there. I thought it was part of Germany or Prussia, right? Was it, because one of you guys said Prussia? So I don't like what you'd eBay it. Yeah. What else we got, guys? Solek says, I thought Kaliningrad used to populate by Germans, but USSR removed them all and destroyed cultural buildings. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Canada. Yeah, Canada's much nicer than us. You'd like Canada as a member of the EU. Make Canada European. I'm not Canadian, but I like Canadians, so I think I would vote for that. They're much nicer than we are. Other than the crazies, they've got their crazies too, but we've got more of them. What else we got, guys? Well, any other news? No news from Transnistria. No, nothing going on there. I don't know, guys. I'm surprised we're like finishing early today. Odessa. I mean, the Russians bombed Odessa again last night. They went after the grain, the ports, but I didn't get to it because I was like, Russia's bombing Ukraine. I sort of don't report on just the daily bombings unless it's something just horrific the Russians did, because it's kind of, I don't find news value in it as far as you guys needing to know, because I figured if I don't mention that Russia bombed a bunch of places in Ukraine, I'm assuming that Russia's bombing a bunch of places anyway, every night, right? So there's no point in like wasting your time and telling you, oh, they hit these many cities. You know that. It was offered to Poland and Lithuania when the USSR collapsed. They both declined. Get out of here. No way. No way. Well, part of the problem was it probably has 200,000 Russians in it or something, right? I mean, what's the population of Kaliningrad? 475,000? Could you imagine having to take 500,000 Russians in? Ooh, that would be a disaster. Well, it's already been fun for you guys in the Baltics, right? No news on Crimea, no news on tourism in Crimea. No, I mean, other than they weren't doing well a few weeks ago. I doubt they're doing any better now, right? Nothing new on Sweden's NATO membership because the Turks, their parliament is on vacation until October. So August and September, the Turkish parliament is out and the Turkish parliament has to vote. But at the same time, remember that goofball Erdogan was talking about Ukraine's got to prove to the parliament. Ukraine has to prove to the parliament that they're worthy of membership in NATO, and they haven't proved it yet. Right? You shouldn't be hearing me twice. Not sure why you are. Let me see. What's the status on the Kerch Bridge? Nothing new. I mean, there's nothing really. We're not getting really updates on the bridge other than what's been going on. All right, guys. I think I'm going to do the recap and go, because I don't think we got a lot of. I mean, there was a lot of news, but we covered it. I can tell you're all kind of. It's like a mellow end of the month Friday for you all, which is not a bad thing. Let me give you the quick recap and then we'll go. It's day 547 of Putin's 3-day special military operation. Remember, we've got our coffee talk in the morning, coffee talk at 11 a.m. Eastern time US. I will be holding it on TikTok and on Discord, and it will be for all of our paid monthly subscribers on the various services, on Discord, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Ko-fi, and I think that's it. There is some evidence of Ukraine's counteroffensive picking up pace. It looks like the Ukrainians have managed to get through Russia's first line of defense, so that's good. Anecdotal reports of a massive Ukrainian drone attack on Russian forces in Crimea overnight. Russian military and bloggers have expressed concern about a Ukrainian breakthrough in Zaporizhia as well. That's the big counteroffensive area in the south. Again, I'm not going through all the details because we talked about it all. Russian troops themselves are saying that they're getting slaughtered around Bakhmut in eastern Ukraine. That's good news. What they're saying is they're basically out of artillery, that the Ukrainians did such a good job blowing up the artillery over the last few months, blowing up the storage of the artillery shells, that the Russians don't have any. There are also reports today that Ukraine crossed the Dnipro River, right, in Kherson region, so southern Ukraine, and led to some Russians being almost surrounded, which is good. Dutch defense minister says transfer of F-16s to Ukraine could take up to 8 months, basically pending the training taking place. 1 second, Dark Irish. I'll get to yours in a sec. Greece will not sign new contracts with Moscow on maintaining Russian air defense systems and may give the new air defense systems to Ukraine. Finland announced military aid for Ukraine worth $100 million. Lukashenko is claiming that Wagner Group will remain in Belarus, but there was a satellite imagery of the camp still being dismantled. Let me see. overall discussion about the Wagner Group getting weaker because basically its head got cut off, and that's not good for Wagner, probably good for Ukraine, and questionable whether it's good or bad for Putin in the long term. Heineken sold its operations in Russia for €1. And CNN reports that Putin will not be traveling to India for the G20 summit next month. Didn't say why, but kind of sounds like he's afraid of going and getting arrested, which is excellent news. Now, Dark Irish had either a comment or a question here. Mike's comment above in comments, Ukrainian troops struck yes, that was what I was talking about with the drone attack at the beginning. Ukrainian troops struck the 126 separate guards, coastal defense brigades of the Russian Black Sea Fleet in the village of Perivany. Actually, I wrote it down. I've got the village name at the top. Where is this? Oh, I didn't write the village name down. The village is like Perivany or whatever, but basically it's right here, right east of Simferopol. That's where the Ukrainians used possibly 72 drones. The Russians are at least we're seeing reports of like 42, but I saw some reports saying 72. Huge number of drones to attack a Russian military base. And the Ukrainians say they injured 300 Russian troops that had to go to the hospital. So yes, thank you for throwing that in there as a gift. But that was a big deal, and that's another sign of the counteroffensive potentially picking up pace, because more of these attacks happening and bigger attacks, and the type of attack that Ukraine is attacking Russian troops themselves in southern Crimea is interesting. The fact that they're using possibly as many as 70 drones is interesting. Right? They don't tend to do that on one target. So all of that is interesting news that suggests perhaps the Ukrainians are beefing up more, not beefing up more, but are going more here. Oh, you already got him. Good for the mod who did that. All right, guys. I'm going to sign off. We did I don't know what's for supper. I'm going to see. There's always frozen pizza. I'm in Chicago. Love my Chicago frozen pizza. Don't like it anywhere else. Yeah, I'm going to skip Discord tonight because we did Discord last night, but we will do our get together tomorrow morning. Remember, all mods are included. All the moderators, you're all welcome as well. I'll keep forgetting to mention that. Not required, but welcome, because we don't get the trolls. But otherwise, as I said, 11 a.m. Eastern time US, I will be on here for the TikTok subscribers, paid TikTok subscribers. You can subscribe right now if you want to join us, 11 a.m. Eastern. And for you guys, how do they join? What do the mods want to explain? I never quite know, because on my screen, I don't see it. Is there a button or something that has for subscribers on the screen here? If you want to sort of write it in there on TikTok, because somebody was asking, and I always wonder about that. But I think there's something on the screen that you click. I think it should be. The star to the left of the chat box. Okay, there you go. There you go. Bottom left. All right, thank you. And you guys too, like I said, anybody who's a monthly subscriber on any of these services, including all the green names, all my YouTubers, my monthly YouTube subscribers, all the green names. Thank you guys especially. I'll look at these. Laka, Karen, Susan. Scrolling a little bit. Greg. It's like romper room here. Just looking. I'm not going to go with Carrie. I'm not going to go through all of you, but I just wanted to give thanks to a number of you. Okay. I'm not going to scroll further, but that was a number of you. Thank you. Also for being the TikTok for the YouTube subscribers. I appreciate that as well. A scoundrel. That's a good name. All right, guys. I will see you all tomorrow. Otherwise, look for me Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and we'll again talk about the latest news. And unless something incredible happens on the weekend, I'll jump in for that too. But otherwise, you'll see me Monday night at 6 Eastern. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.